the breath. The first thing you take when you enter Earth, and the last thing you give once you leave. And yet most human beings are not aware of the breath, nor do they breathe properly, spending their entire lives without ever becoming conscious of it. Even for the lucky few who've become aware of the breath, are still only observing sensations rather than becoming conscious of the breath itself. Today, like many things, the breath has become a trend, with all sorts of breathworks, some trying to induce psychedelic-like experiences or force release traumas and do all sorts of crazy things, along with a booming market of many products and tools trying to help someone breathe, as we see the same repeating patterns of trying to fix an internal issue with the external, with some placing a band-aid over the mouth rather than addressing the root cause. While there is nothing wrong about some of these tools, as always there's a balance and sometimes it can be supportive. But the issue is that many are not integrating and becoming conscious of the breath, placing a band-aid over an issue that determines if one is truly living consciously. So in this video, we will be exploring to depth and what it means to breathe. Across cultures and civilizations, the breath has always been sacred, with many traditions associating it directly with the life force or the soul itself, as it is known as the connection between the body, mind, and spirit. And while we can physically understand the importance of the breath and its direct link to one's survival, in all of these traditions, it is understood to master the breath is to master the self. And the breath and its connection to the life force becomes an embodied science rather than an assumed metaphor. Once one begins to get a certain point of mastery, a level of self-realization of what it means to be conscious, one will enter what is known as the breathless state. An aspect of deep realization and absorption where it feels as though you no longer are breathing air, as the nose itself is just holes in which air is passing through, but what you are breathing is life itself. This form of breathing is extremely subtle to most, as it can be described as breathing through the whole body, through the universe, or even no breath at all. To better understand these subtleties, we will explore how to breathe properly and diving into the sciences. First, we must understand the direct connection of the breath to the nervous system. How one breathes shapes how one's body and mind is working. We can see this clearly through the nervous system. We know through science, depending on how you breathe, activates different aspects of the nervous system. When you inhale, especially sharply or rapidly, the heart rate increases and activates the sympathetic nervous system, known for the flight or fight response. When you exhale, especially slowly or deeply, your heart rate decreases, activating the parasympathetic nervous system, known for rest and digestive responses. So the breath is literally controlling the nervous system in real time. The vagus nerve, the main pathway of the parasympathetic system, and usually referred to be a major role in spiritual evolution, is directly stimulated by deep and slow breathing, especially through the nose and the diaphragm, as this runs from the brainstem to the gut, touching the heart, lungs, and digestive tract, the locations of the dantians. The brain is directly connected to the nervous system, being part of the central nervous system. And we can see the breath's effects on the brain in many ways, such as the brain waves. Depending on how you breathe, the different brain waves will be active, with the shallow and fast breathing associated with sympathetic system activating more beta brain waves, and the slower and deeper breaths associated with parasympathetic system shifting the brain towards alpha, theta, and even delta. So we can see the breath is like the remote control for the nervous system, which means it controls the whole body, as the air is the information. So, to learn how to breathe properly, we must look at all aspects of the respiratory system. First, we will look at the diaphragm, a dome-shaped muscle located at the base of your lungs. It is the primary muscle of respiration, and yet most people are barely using it. In shallow breathing, the chest and shoulders do all the work. This keeps the breath in the upper lungs, signaling stress to the body, activating beta brainwaves and the sympathetic nervous system. But when you engage the diaphragm, breathing deep into the belly, you activate the parasympathetic system, which is associated with the subconscious. You slow down your heart rate and shift your brainwaves. As breathing into the belly activates the lower lungs and abdomen, activating theta and delta brainwaves. With the slower the breath, the slower the heart, the closer to delta, allowing one to feel a deep sense of calm and inward focus. With the mid-lung activation, breathing outward from the location of the diaphragm, pushing the front, back, and sides out in all directions, this activates alpha brainwaves, allowing one to feel relaxed and grounded. And it is the breathless state of breathing life itself that activates gamma brainwaves. Another important part about breathing is where you inhale and exhale from, and the cadence or rhythm of the breath. As the quality of the breath is not just about depth, but where it begins, where it moves, and how long it stays. First of all, breathing out the mouth is associated with beta or alpha 2, as this is still dealing with the conscious mind and the sympathetic nervous system. Whereas breathing out the nose is associated with the subconscious mind and parasympathetic nervous system, and the brain waves of alpha 1, theta, and delta. Nose breathing is essential as the stimulation of the nasal cavity through nasal breathing produces nitric oxide, a molecule that dilates blood vessels and improves oxygen absorption in the lung, helps heal the microbiome of the gut, and enhances memory and learning by modulating neurotransmissions. Now, to go even subtler with the breath, we must pay attention to how we breathe through the nose, as the nose is very connected to the subtle energies, as both nadis of Ida and Pingala end at the base of the nose. With the left nostril of Ida being associated with the right hemisphere of the brain, which is associated with creativity, left side body control, and water element. With the right nostril of Pingala being associated with the left hemisphere of the brain, which is associated with logical thinking, right side body control, and fire element. And within this nose passageway up to the third eye, there are 10 chakra points, 5 on each side that pair up, and with each pair having association with a brainwave. These chakra points culminate in the physical through the base of the nostril, the septum, inner sinus cavity, brow ridge, and the midbrain, which include the thalamus, pineal gland, and pituitary gland. The breath through the base of the nostril is associated with beta brainwaves, as this is shallow breathing. Breathing like this, the air will only fill up to the upper lungs. The breath through the septum is associated with the alpha brainwaves, as this will fill the middle section of the lungs. The breath through the inner sinus cavity is associated with theta brainwaves and will start to hit the lower lungs. Breathing through the brow ridge is associated with delta brainwaves and will get to the depths of the lungs. Breathing up through the midbrain is associated with gamma brainwaves, as once all of the other sections of the brainwaves are synchronized, then the prana will flow to the midbrain. And furthermore, when you breathe down through the throat and larynx, you begin to stimulate the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve, also known as the wandering nerve, which governs the parasympathetic nervous system. This activation does more than just calm the mind. It initiates deep healing throughout the body, regulating the heart, digestion, breath, and emotional response. But it goes even deeper. By stimulating the vagus nerve, you also enhance the pulsation and upper flow of the cerebrospinal fluid, the subtle liquid that bathes the brain and spine. And energetically, both the vagus nerve and cerebrospinal fluid are intimately linked with the Kundalini circuit or the microcosmic orbit, acting as the physical and energetic pathways through which life force rises into the higher brain centers. Now bringing our awareness back to the lungs, physiologically, the lungs are thought to be the primary driver of the breath rhythm, and the breath is the direct modulator of the brain and the body. But what makes the lungs fascinating is that they are one of the body's primary sites for producing DMT, the molecule associated with mystical states. As the lungs express an enzyme called INMT, which helps synthesize DMT from tryptamine. Furthermore, the lungs have a very direct connection to the heart, a powerful energetic organ in which these mystical states must first flow through. As the more one is conscious about the breath, the more the heart slows down, using its energy for further expansion, further emphasizing the interconnectedness of the body. Last part of the respiratory system we will look at is an often overlooked aspect, the pelvic floor. It acts as a mirror to the diaphragm, so when you inhale, the diaphragm descends, and the pelvic floor responds. And when you exhale, they rise together. This pattern movement is essential for stimulating the cerebral spinal fluid and the Kundalini circuit, or the microcosmic orbit. Now, there are more aspects of the breath that are not associated with the general respiratory system of the body that are worth mentioning, as to consciously breathe is to breathe through the whole body. The skin plays an important role in the breath, bringing awareness to the skin, the sense of air, the subtle energies on the skin, and breathing through the whole being will help allow one to breathe and get closer to synchronization of the nervous system and the brainwaves, allowing one to activate gamma brainwaves and the breathless state. As we must breathe in all directions, just like the gamma brainwaves is omnidirectional. The last part of the body that I think is important to talk about when it comes to the breath is the hands, feet, and hips. Firstly, the hips is a foundational structure of the body. So bringing the breath through the hips, specifically riding the peripheral nerve systems that run through the 8 holes of the hips, can help heal the body in many ways. The hands and feet, specifically the palms, have a unique role as they are extra sensitive parts of the peripheral nervous system. And so inhale and exhale through these parts will help the system breathe through the entire body, as they are also the furthest points of the body. In Qigong practices, it's common to breathe into the organs as well, as in many traditions it is understood that the organs store a lot of energy and trauma. So to go through and bring your awareness to each location of the organ and breathe into them will help heal the organs, giving it more electricity and creating a deeper neural pathway, allowing the organs to be healthier. To learn to be conscious of the breath, we will want to be aware of the breath as much as possible, especially throughout the day, and activities would be the best practice. As you walk, eat, speak, create, and rest, observe the rhythm of the breath. This will be the best practice. But there are techniques that can help deepen sensitivity and reprogram unconscious habits, such as breathworks. While there are many forms of breathworks, pranayama yoga will help learn to control the breath consciously. As most modern breathwork styles today are stimulating, they involve intense techniques, fast and intense breathing, and sometimes mouth inhalation. And while they can produce powerful effects, they often bypass the subtle body, as many of the breathworks are trying to get you to boost energy into the head so you can have a mystical experience. But this is overcooking the brain. Pranayama is the yogic practice of focusing on breath control, aiming to connect the body, mind, and spirit. Rather than forcing energy like the modern breathworks, this emphasizes on control and the expansion of prana, as this is more about integration than activation. Being conscious about the breath is a pranayama practice. Lastly, there is one more important technique when it comes to breathing. It is breathing air while chewing food. As you want to breathe through the nose while chewing the food, allowing the air to mix with the food, as this will provide many great benefits to the body, especially when it comes to digestion, the gut, and the microbiome. Breath follows awareness, and awareness follows breath. So to become conscious of the breath is to become conscious of consciousness. Practicing the awareness of the breath, not just in meditation, but in everyday life. Every breath becomes ecstatic once you become conscious of the breath, one with life, and in the present moment. That is it for today's video. Like, subscribe, leave any comments or topics that you want me to talk about. Till next time, peace! Do you ever feel lost, confused about who you are, why you're here, and what your true purpose is? Do you feel disconnected, lacking the purpose, direction, or energy to do what you truly want in life? I know that feeling well because I lived it. But through that confusion, I discover something powerful. The deeper meaning you're searching for is already within you. The problem is, most people are never taught how to access it. That's why I'm dedicating my life to help others reconnect with their true self, to understand what life is really about, break free from limitations, and master their energy. My name is Ellis-Hernandez, and my journey began with a powerful awakening after a long period of depression and disconnection. And since then, I spent years diving deep into spirituality, science, philosophy, and energetic mastery. Through practices like meditation, yoga, qigong, holistic health, and a lot more, I've learned how to activate my energy, live in effortless flow, and follow my true passion. Now, I help others do the same. I work with people who are ready to break through, align their soul's purpose, and step into the most vibrant, awakened version of themselves. If that's you, I offer personalized one-on-one coaching to guide and accelerate your transformation. I also offer online courses designed to unlock your potential. And I have a YouTube channel filled with powerful insights to guide your journey. You don't have to stay stuck, and you don't have to keep searching. The path is already unfolding. Are you ready to step into the life you are meant to live and master your own energy? Click below to begin the journey today.